5:30 on a Tuesday afternoon. The office was emptying, footsteps fading, the familiar symphony of keyboard clicks slowing to a tired rhythm. I was still there, polishing the quarterly report, the one they'd asked me to make shine, the one I'd stayed until midnight perfecting for 3 nights straight. My coffee had gone cold. Again. Ping. A new email. From Human Resources. Subject line. Important notice regarding your employment status. That was the moment time. Just stopped. You know when your heart reacts before your mind understands? When your stomach drops before your thoughts arrive? Have you ever felt your entire world shift in the space between 2 heartbeats? Click. Dear Ms. Thompson, we regret to inform you that effective immediately, your position at Meridian Enterprises has been eliminated due to organizational restructuring. 13 years, 4 promotions, countless weekends sacrificed, birthday parties missed, vacations cut short, all reduced to a 5-paragraph form letter that someone couldn't even bother to deliver in person. My hands hovered over the keyboard, trembling. The cursor blinked back at me, mocking, waiting for my reaction. I read it again. Then again. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe someone sent it to the wrong person. But there was my name, my employee ID number, the termination packet attached. The walls of my office, the office I had earned, suddenly felt smaller, pressing in from every side. The framed degrees, the family photos, the handwritten thank you notes from clients, they all looked like they belonged to someone else now. Someone who still mattered. Please clear your desk by end of day. End of day, end of career, end of identity. I looked at my watch, 5:43 p.m. The cleaning crew would arrive at 7. That gave me 77 minutes to pack up 13 years of my life. The hallway outside was quiet. Had they known? Had everyone else received the same cold digital execution? Or was I special, the only one deemed unworthy of a face-to-face goodbye? I printed the email. I don't know why. Evidence? Reminder? Maybe fuel for a future I couldn't yet see. My phone buzzed. A message from Daniel, my boss. Just heard. I'm sorry. This wasn't my decision. Not his decision. Not his fight. Not his problem. I typed and deleted 7 different replies before setting the phone down. What do you say when the script you've followed for over a decade suddenly disappears? When the role you've perfected is erased without warning? The room felt colder, the silence louder. I stood, moved toward the supply closet and pulled out one of those cardboard boxes. You know the ones. They pretend they're for file storage, but everyone knows their true purpose. The dismissal boxes. My hands moved on autopilot, packing piece by piece. The desk plant. The mug my daughter made in 3rd grade. The emergency makeup kit, the protein bars, the spare shoes. But what about the memories? The late nights? The crises solved? The friendships built? Where do you pack those? I sat down one last time in my leather chair, the one I had worked years to earn. My mind raced through recent weeks. The merger, the closed-door meetings, the sudden obsession with documentation. I had delivered everything they asked, exceeded every metric. I had been loyal. And yet, ping. Another email. Please sign and return the attached separation agreement within 24 hours to receive your severance package. 2 months' salary for 13 years of my life. The cursor blinked, waiting. I didn't answer. I slipped my laptop into my bag, left my keys on the desk, and lifted the box. The elevator ride felt different. I was no longer a director, just cargo. Excess. Eliminated. The security guard nodded as I passed. Did he know? Was he told to watch me leave? I stepped into the evening air. The city moved on indifferent to my private collapse. My car waited in the garage. Executive level, reserved spot. Not anymore. I placed the box in the trunk, closed it, and leaned against the cold metal. That's when the first tear fell, just one, then another, then a flood, another. What would I tell my family, my friends, myself? The digital guillotine had fallen swiftly, cleanly, without warning, and I never saw it coming. The drive home that evening passed in a blur. Streets I'd traveled thousands of times suddenly seemed unfamiliar. Radio voices faded into white noise, and that cardboard box on the passenger seat became my only companion. 13 years. I remember my first day at Meridian Enterprises like it was yesterday. Fresh MBA, desperate to prove myself. Walking into that towering glass building with nothing but ambition and a borrowed briefcase. You'll start in market analysis, they said. Everyone does. But I wasn't everyone. 6 months later, I was leading my own projects. 12 months in, managing a small team. By year 3, I had that windowed office on the 23rd floor. Not the corner office, not yet. But I could see it from my desk. I used to stay late just to walk by it, empty after hours, imagining my name on the door. The sacrifices started small. A missed dinner here, a rescheduled vacation there, anniversary celebrations in airport lounges, birthday candles blown out over video calls. It's just for now, I told my husband. Just until I make director. He believed me. Or pretended to. Maybe we both needed to believe the sacrifice would eventually end. The corner office became my North Star. My validation. My proof that the missed bedtime stories were worth it. And then, 4 years ago, it happened. Alexandra Thompson, Director of Strategic Operations. The brass nameplate arrived before I did on that first morning. I traced the letters with my fingertips, feeling the cold metal engraving beneath my skin. I had arrived. That corner office, 20th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows with views of the river and downtown skyline, custom ergonomic chair, mahogany desk that had belonged to directors before me. I redecorated, of course, made it mine, family photos, modern art, the jade plant that somehow survived years of neglectful watering. That office wasn't just a workspace. It was a monument to everything I'd sacrificed to get there. The night I closed the Westlake acquisition, the one everyone said was impossible, I slept on that office couch, woke up in that space to remind myself it was real. From that office, I rebuilt our entire operations framework, increased efficiency by 34%, reduced costs by 22%, numbers that translated to millions on the bottom line. From that office, I mentored 17 junior employees, watched them grow, fought for their promotions, celebrated their wins, navigated company politics, shifting alliances, subtle power plays. I thought I was good at the game. No, I thought I had transcended the game. You're indispensable, Alex, Daniel had said just last month over our quarterly review lunch. The company wouldn't be where it is without you. Indispensable. What a dangerously comforting word. I remember the day we landed the Henderson account. 3 years of courtship, countless proposals, late nights refining presentations until every word was perfect. When they finally signed, the celebration lasted until dawn. Champagne in paper cups, impromptu speeches, the CEO himself stopping by to congratulate us. This is what excellence looks like, he said, arm around my shoulders for the company newsletter photo. This is Meridian's future. I framed that photo, hung it directly across from my desk, a daily reminder of what we could accomplish together. For them. The irony burns now. Last Christmas, I missed my daughter's winter concert to finalize the Morrison merger documentation. She was playing lead violin, her first solo. "It's okay, Mom," she said, voice small but understanding beyond her 12 years. "I know your job is important." I sent my assistant to record it. Watched it later that night in my office, crying silently as she played beautifully without me in the audience. I promised her I wouldn't miss the spring concert. Another promise work would force me to break. Or would it? That thought hit me as I pulled into our driveway, engine off, still sitting in silent darkness. I wouldn't miss anything anymore. The realization should have felt liberating. Instead, it felt like vertigo. The sudden absence of pressure creating its own disorienting vacuum. Who was I without that corner office? Without that title? Without those responsibilities that had shaped every hour of every day for over a decade? I looked down at my hands gripping the steering wheel. Manicured nails, wedding ring, the watch they gave me for my 10th work anniversary. For exceptional dedication and loyalty to Meridian Enterprises. Loyalty. I laughed then, a sharp, bitter sound in the quiet car. They had planned this. While I was pulling all-nighters perfecting the quarterly projections, someone was calculating the cost of eliminating me. While I was rescheduling my vacation for the third time to accommodate the executive retreat, someone was drafting my termination letter. While I was missing my child's performances and my anniversary dinners, someone was determining I wasn't worth keeping around. I finally stepped out of the car, leaving the box in the trunk. I couldn't bring myself to carry physical evidence of my professional execution into my home. Not yet. The house lights were on. Warm, inviting. A life was happening inside. A life I had been only partially present for. As I stood in my driveway, somewhere between my past and future, one crystal-clear thought cut through the chaos in my mind. They took my corner office, but they couldn't take the view I'd earned from it. I had seen everything, and that would matter soon enough. I stood at my front door for 3 full minutes before entering, composing myself, rehearsing explanations, preparing for questions I couldn't answer. How do you tell your family you've been discarded? When I finally stepped inside, my husband James looked up from his laptop. His smile faded instantly. "What happened?" he asked. 2 simple words. The dam broke. I couldn't speak, just handed him my phone with the email still open. He read in silence, his expression darkening with each line. "Over email? After 13 years?" His voice rose, filling our kitchen with a righteous anger I couldn't yet access. They couldn't even do it face to face? Our daughter Madison appeared in the doorway, homework forgotten. 15 years old, too perceptive, too good at reading rooms. "Mom, are you okay?" I wiped my tears, straightened my shoulders, parental autopilot. "I lost my job today, sweetheart." Her eyes widened. In her world, mothers like me didn't lose jobs. Jobs were permanent until they weren't. "But why?" she asked. The eternal question. "Corporate restructuring," I repeated hollowly. The phrase felt foreign. Corporate restructuring happened to other departments, other people. "What exactly does that mean?" James pressed, attorney instincts kicking in. "It means they found someone younger, cheaper, or more connected," I said, surprising myself with the bitterness in my voice. "It means I'm expendable." That night, sleep never came. I stared at the ceiling, replaying every interaction, looking for warnings, for hints, for anything that might have prepared me. There was the new CFO, young and ambitious, always talking about trimming operational fat. There were whispers about the merger with Eastern Point Partners, synergies to be leveraged, redundancies to be cut. Daniel had been distant these past 3 weeks, canceling our strategy sessions, redirecting my questions about the budget forecast. The signs were there. I just couldn't, or wouldn't, read them. By morning, denial had hardened into something darker. I checked my company phone. Disconnected. Email access revoked. Benefits portal. User not recognized. They had erased me overnight. 13 years vaporized with a few keystrokes. The box from my trunk sat unopened in the garage. I couldn't bring myself to unpack it, to officially acknowledge the end. Instead, I showered, dressed in my usual work attire, applied makeup with professional precision. "What are you doing?" James asked, watching from the doorway. "I don't know," I admitted, mascara wand frozen midair. I need to go back, to get answers." "Alex, they'll have security waiting. You know the protocol. You wrote the protocol." He was right. Standard procedure for director-level terminations. A security measure to protect company assets. Never imagining I'd be the one escorted out. Still, I drove to the office, parked in the visitor section, sat there watching employees, my former colleagues, stream through the revolving glass doors. Normal Tuesday morning. Coffee cups in hand. Lives continuing undisturbed while mine had imploded. My access badge wouldn't work. But I knew Kevin at the security desk. 15 years he'd been there. He'd watched me climb from analyst to director. "Mrs. Thompson," he greeted, surprise evident. "I just need to speak with Daniel," I said smoothly. Won't take long. Hesitation flickered across his face. I'm sorry, ma'am. I have instructions about former employees. Former employees. The words stung like a slap. Kevin, it's me. 13 years. I just want closure. His eyes darted to the phone on his desk, to the security camera overhead. I really can't, Mrs. Thompson. I'm sorry. Behind him, the elevator opened. Daniel stepped out, engrossed in conversation with Evan Reed, my deputy, my protege, the one I had mentored from intern to manager. They both saw me at the same moment. Daniel froze. Evan looked away. The silence stretched between us, vast and damning. Alex, Daniel finally said, approaching cautiously, you shouldn't be here. I deserve better than an email, I said, voice low but steady. 13 years, Daniel. You couldn't walk 20 feet to my office? He glanced around nervously. This isn't the place. Where is the place? When is the time? After you've packed up my life in a cardboard box? After you've handed my projects to Evan here? Evan studied the floor tiles with sudden fascination. The decision came from above, Daniel whispered. The coward's eternal excuse. You could have warned me. I signed an NDA about the restructuring, he replied. Corporate armor, freshly polished. People were watching now, reception staff, marketing team heading to their meeting, new summer interns wide-eyed at the unfolding drama. Security is on their way up, Kevin said softly from behind me. I looked at Daniel one last time. At Evan. At the building that had been my second home. I built that operations team, I said, voice breaking. I streamlined those processes. I secured those clients. And we're grateful for your contributions, Daniel replied with practiced corporate sympathy. Contributions, past tense, archived, filed away. I turned and walked out before security arrived, before the tears could fall, before I lost the last shred of dignity I had left. In the parking lot, my phone buzzed with a text from Evan. I didn't know. I swear. I'm sorry. Too little. Too late. I drove away from Meridian Enterprises for what I thought was the final time. Empty-handed. Heart hollowed out. 13 years of my life left behind in an email and a cardboard box. The building shrank in my rearview mirror. The glass tower that had defined me, diminishing with each mile. I had no idea then that I would return. Under very different circumstances. The next 14 days unfolded like a strange dream. Time stretched and compressed unpredictably. Hours crawled. Days vanished. Who are you when the thing that defined you disappears? The first morning after, I woke at 5:30 a.m. My alarm hadn't sounded. My body simply followed its 13-year routine. For a blissful moment, everything was normal. Then reality crashed down with crushing weight. No meetings to prepare for. No emails demanding responses. No calls to return. No team relying on my direction. No purpose waiting for me. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, the vast emptiness of unstructured time stretching before me like an abyss. James suggested a vacation. Let's go to the coast, he said. You've earned a break. A break. As if this were a pause, not an ending. I need to update my resume, I replied. But I didn't touch my laptop. Couldn't efface the blank document that would have to summarize who I was, now that I was no longer Director of Strategic Operations at Meridian Enterprises. Madison left a handmade card on my nightstand. You're more than your job, Mom. The sentiment was sweet. The reality, more complicated. For 13 years, I'd introduced myself as Alexandra Thompson, Director at Meridian. At school functions, at neighborhood gatherings, at family reunions. Now who was I? Just Alexandra. Just me. The days blurred together. I'd find myself standing in the kitchen, unsure how long I'd been staring out the window, or sitting in my car in the grocery store parking lot, unable to remember why I'd driven there. My phone remained silent. No calls from colleagues, no messages of solidarity, no lunch invitations from work friends suddenly discovering their courage. Corporate amnesia is fascinating. You exist vividly until suddenly you don't. I checked LinkedIn obsessively, watched former teammates posting about exciting projects, my projects, saw congratulatory comments under Evan's announcement of his expanded role. No mention of how the expansion occurred. Day 4, my severance deadline loomed. The legal document sat on our counter, each page more insulting than the last. "This is highway robbery," James said. "The non-compete's excessive, the severance is insulting." I signed anyway, too tired to fight. Day 7 brought a new low. I ran into Sandra from marketing at the coffee shop. Her eyes widened, then darted away. She pretended to check her phone. I stood directly in her line of sight. "Alexandra, I didn't see you there," she lied. "How are things?" "Wonderful," I said with a brittle smile. "Nothing like professional execution to free up your calendar." She laughed nervously, grabbed her coffee, and fled. I went home and spent the afternoon in bed. Day 10, I finally opened the cardboard box, each item a small dagger. The Director of the Year plaque, the team photo, the handwritten note from the CEO after Westlake. "This company assess future is brighter with you in it." Lies on premium stationery. I threw it all away, then retrieved it from the trash at midnight while James slept. Some wounds you're not ready to close, even when they're poisoning you. By the end of the second week, friends stopped checking in. Shock had worn off. My unemployment was normalized, to everyone but me. I started avoiding social media. Every exciting announcement was salt in a wound that refused to heal. Instead, I began researching Meridian's competitors. Not for work, for something darker. I studied their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities, places where my insider knowledge could inflict maximum damage. Petty? Maybe. Therapeutic? Absolutely. I built spreadsheets comparing clients, markets, and contracts that could be poached. "This isn't healthy," James said one night, finding me surrounded by papers at 3 a.m. "I'm just staying current," I replied. But we both knew. This was revenge disguised as research, destruction as therapy, pain repurposed into purpose. 2 weeks since my termination, I forced myself to shower, to dress properly, to exist again. I took myself to lunch at Carlino's, the Italian place where Meridian execs celebrated wins, my quiet act of defiance. I ordered a glass of wine I couldn't taste and stared at the rain-speckled street. Not present, not absent, just suspended between my old life and whatever came next. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Almost. "Alexandra Thompson speaking," I said automatically. "Ms. Thompson," a woman's voice replied, calm, sharp, controlled. "My name is Victoria Chen, CEO of Avalon Systems." My pulse quickened. I knew that name, Meridian's fastest-growing rival. "I understand you've recently become available," she said. "I'd like to discuss an opportunity that might interest you." My heart raced. My mind spun. "I'm listening," I said, sitting straighter in my seat. Little did I know, the game was just beginning. Victoria Chen suggested meeting at the Archer, a private club on the 40th floor of the Blackwell building downtown. The kind of place where deals were made behind closed doors, away from industry eyes. "How did you get my number?" I asked, sliding into the leather booth across from her. She smiled. Sleek black bob, impeccable suit, the poise of someone accustomed to power. "When someone of your caliber suddenly becomes available, word travels." I studied her carefully. Victoria Chen, 42, MIT graduate, former Silicon Valley executive who had transformed Avalon Systems from a struggling regional player into Meridian's most dangerous competitor in just 3 years. "So this is a recruitment meeting," I said, accepting the sparkling water placed before me. "This is a conversation between professionals who understand value," she replied. "Yours has been severely miscalculated by your former employer." The acknowledgement of my worth, something Meridian had discarded so easily, hit harder than I expected. I tried to keep my expression neutral. "I appreciate that, but I signed a non-compete." Victoria waved a hand dismissively. Non-competes written that broadly are rarely enforceable here. Your attorney husband would tell you the same. The mention of James startled me. She'd done her homework. You've been researching me. For longer than you might think, she said. Your reputation precedes you. Westlake Henderson, the restructuring that raised efficiency 30%. Impressive achievements. Apparently not impressive enough, I replied. Bitterness slipped through despite my restraint. Their short-sightedness is our opportunity, she said, sliding a folder across the table. I'd like you to consider joining Avalon Systems. I opened the folder expecting a standard offer. What I saw instead stole my breath. Chief Operations Officer? The compensation made my Meridian salary look insulting. Stock options, bonuses, relocation. We're expanding, Victoria explained. Aggressively. We need someone who understands not just operations but Meridian's operations specifically. The implication was clear. They weren't hiring me. They were buying my knowledge. This feels... I hesitated. Strategic? She offered. It is, but completely legal. Your expertise belongs to you. I closed the folder slowly. Why now? Why me? Because Meridian made a critical error, she said. They've been cutting valuable assets to please shareholders. We've watched them cannibalize their future for months. I swallowed hard. And I was just another budget line to cut. You were their first mistake, Victoria said. One we intend to capitalize on, with or without you, but preferably with. The waiter brought lunch neither of us had ordered. She nodded, a regular whose habits were anticipated. How long have you been planning this, I asked. We've had our eye on you for 14 months, she replied, since the Morrison merger. Your handling of that integration was illuminating. 14 months. While I'd been killing myself for Meridian, Avalon had been studying me. So when I was terminated, we accelerated our timeline. Opportunity rarely arrives so conveniently. I picked at my salad, appetite gone. My mind calculated the advantages: financial security, vindication, leverage. But another part recoiled at the coldness of it all, the trade of loyalty for strategy. What exactly would you want from me? I asked finally. Initially, your operational expertise, she said. Long term, I want you to help me take everything Meridian values. Their clients, their market share, I asked. Their future, she corrected. They've been too comfortable, too blind. You know their weaknesses better than anyone. The proposition shimmered before me. Not just employment, but empowerment. Not recovery, but revenge. I'd need time, I said carefully. To consider the ethical implications. Victoria nodded, clearly approving my caution. Take the weekend. But talent like yours doesn't stay idle. If not us, someone else will recognize what Meridian threw away. As we finished lunch, she slid me a heavy business card. Her direct number was handwritten on the back. One more thing, she added, eyes sharp. The board meeting to finalize this offer is Monday morning. Daniel Wilson will be there. I froze. Daniel, my former boss? Her smile cut like glass. He joined our advisory board 3 weeks ago. He's been informative about Meridian's restructuring plans. The betrayal hit like a blow. Daniel hadn't just failed to warn me, he'd been helping them. He specifically recommended you, Victoria said. Called you the operational mind behind Meridian's success. The puzzle pieces locked into place. My firing, Daniel's distance, the email instead of a meeting. I stood, steady despite the fury burning inside me. I'll call you Monday morning. As the elevator descended, my reflection looked back at me. Calm, deliberate, alive. Purpose had returned. This wasn't just about employment anymore. It was resurrection, redemption, and if I was honest, retribution. The game had changed, completely. By my second week at Avalon, the shift from outsider to insider was complete. My calendar overflowed with strategy sessions, client meetings, and endless reviews. But this time, I wasn't serving someone else's vision. I was building my own. You haven't taken a day off, Emma said, setting a coffee on my desk as the office emptied. I'm making up for lost time, I replied, eyes fixed on my 73-page report. Every weakness mapped, every opportunity calculated. Victoria's message came instantly: implement everything. My first move shook the industry. I hired Sarah Lawson, Meridian's best account manager, with an offer she couldn't refuse. Within a week, 3 more followed, bringing years of experience with them. The press called it a corporate exodus. Meridian called their lawyers. We called it momentum. Next came precision. I targeted 15 Meridian contracts nearing renewal, clients I knew personally, with frustrations I'd once tried to solve. I offered what Meridian had denied them: better terms, stronger communication, real respect. Within weeks, 3 signed with Avalon. Henderson was first. Alexandra, I heard you're with Avalon now, he said. A necessary evolution, I replied. He told me Meridian had sent a junior associate to their meeting. That's unfortunate, I said, hiding my smile. 6 days later, he signed a 3-year deal worth 20% more. The effect was instant. Meridian stock dropped 4% overnight. My phone filled with messages from former colleagues looking for exits. I chose selectively, building a machine of precision, not a team, but an instrument. Each hire was a strike. You're ruthless, Victoria said one night, finding me still working at 10 p.m. I learned from experience, I replied. Loyalty only matters when it's mutual. Her smile told me she understood. In business, sentiment was a liability. The next blow was devastating. Using intel from my new recruits, I found a flaw in Meridian's new structure, the same reorganization that had erased my role. I designed a campaign targeting those gaps, reaching clients directly with solutions tailored to their pain. 4 more major accounts moved within weeks. Meridian's market share dropped 7%, their worst quarter in history. The Wall Street Journal called it corporate revenge. One woman redefines the game. Victoria toasted to it. I just stared at the headline in silence. Daniel texted, "This has gone beyond competition." I replied with one word, email. He understood. Some debts don't vanish, they wait. 3 months in, Avalon surpassed Meridian in new client acquisitions. Victoria gathered the entire company. For the first time in 15 years, she said, Avalon leads the market, thanks to Alexandra Thompson. Applause erupted. Faces turned toward me with admiration, some with awe. For them, it was victory. For me, it was clarity. I realized revenge was never the goal. It was rebirth disguised as vengeance. I wasn't chasing Meridian's fall anymore. I was shaping Avalon's rise. For the first time in years, I felt still, whole. That evening, my phone rang. "Ms. Thompson," said a voice I knew instantly. Richard Harmon, Meridian's CEO, the man who'd signed my termination. "I think we should talk." "I'm listening," I said evenly. "Dinner tomorrow. The Archer," he continued. "We have matters of mutual interest." His tone was calm, too calm, the kind that hides desperation. When I hung up, I stared at my reflection in the glass. The woman looking back wasn't the one Meridian discarded. She was the storm they had created. Tomorrow, Harmon would learn the difference between survival and power, because this time I wasn't begging for a seat at the table. I owned the table. The weekend passed in a blur of ethical wrestling and practical calculations. By Sunday night, my decision had crystallized with surprising clarity, a steady resolve cutting through the fog. I called Victoria Chen at exactly 8:00 a.m. Monday morning. "I'm in," I said simply. "With one condition." She answered without surprise. "Name it," she replied, as if she had already expected me to accept. "I want to build my own team. Complete autonomy over operations hiring." Victoria didn't hesitate. "Granted. When can you start?" I said, "Tomorrow." Sometimes bridges aren't just burned. Sometimes they're obliterated with surgical precision. My first day at Avalon Systems felt surreal. The security guard greeted me by name. Welcome aboard, Ms. Thompson. My access badge waited at the desk. Executive-level clearance in a corner office larger than the one I had at Meridian already bore my nameplate. We believe in being prepared, Victoria explained as she walked me through headquarters. Avalon was modern, open, energetic, everything Meridian had been before complacency set in and spreadsheets became the god. Employees watched us pass, whispers trailing like a current. The former Meridian director had been poached, a corporate coup in motion. My new assistant, Emma, appeared with orientation materials and a tight agenda. I've scheduled introductory meetings with all department heads today, she said. The executive team dinner is at 7:00 p.m. The day raced by in handshakes, systems overviews, and rapid-fire briefings. I absorbed everything, cataloging differences between Avalon and Meridian, strengths to leverage, weaknesses to address, opportunities to exploit. At 4:30, Emma knocked. "Mr. Wilson is here for your meeting." Daniel. My heart thudded. I hadn't expected to face him so soon. "Send him in," I said, voice steadier than I felt. He entered cautious, the same diplomat smile, the same suit. "Alexandra," he offered his hand. I left mine hanging. "Daniel, quite the career transition you've made," I replied, cold. He lowered his hand, uncomfortable. "I could say the same for you." I told him the difference. Mine wasn't planned while I was still employed elsewhere. The accusation landed. "Business is business," he said, the oldest corporate lie. "You sat across from me in weekly meetings knowing they planned to terminate me," I said. "You advised their competitor. That feels personal." He tried to parry. "I recommended you for this role. I made sure you landed on your feet." His defense sounded hollow. "How noble," I said. "Was the email termination your idea too?" He shifted. "HR made that call. I pushed for a different approach." "Not hard enough," I answered, and the space between us felt like broken trust, now concrete. "We should discuss Henderson account transition," he said, returning to safe ground. "We should discuss how Meridian will react when their biggest clients start receiving calls from me," I shot back. He paled. "That would be aggressive." "That's business," I said, using his own language against him. That evening, Avalon hosted an executive dinner in a private dining room with a wall of windows overlooking the skyline, Meridian's tower visible in the distance. Victoria introduced me as the woman who would translate Meridian's operational genius into Avalon's victory, and heads nodded, glasses lifted. I was no longer just an executive. I was a weapon. Over dessert, Victoria leaned in. "Daniel looked shaken after your meeting. What did you say to him?" "I reminded him loyalty flows both ways," I said. "Or should." She smiled. "Tomorrow you'll get full access to our client database and acquisition playbook. I want your assessment of where we can press advantage." "I already have ideas," I admitted. The drive home that night snaked past Meridian's lit windows. I could see silhouettes at desks, people sacrificing hours believing they were indispensable. My phone buzzed. Evan texted, "Is it true? You're at Avalon now?" I didn't reply. Let him wonder. For 13 years I had built Meridian's success. Now I would engineer their greatest challenge from the inside out, armed with intimate knowledge of every weakness, every vulnerability, every false assumption of loyalty. I wasn't behind enemy lines. I was leading the charge. The archer looked different from the power side of the table. Richard Harmon arrived at exactly 7 p.m. Flawless suit, sharp eyes, the confidence of a man accustomed to rearranging lives with a signature, including mine. He sat across from me, studying my face with predatory calm. "You've made quite an impression at Avalon," he said, ignoring the wine list. "Your restructuring is impressive." "The same one I proposed at Meridian," I replied. "The one you called unnecessary." "Context changes perspectives," he offered. "So does unemployment," I said. The waiter took our orders, but neither of us was hungry. Harmon leaned forward, voice low and deliberate. "Meridian made a mistake." The words I had imagined for months landed empty. Which mistake? I asked. Terminating me by email? Handing my projects to my deputy? Or pretending my clients would stay loyal to the logo instead of the person? All of the above, he admitted. The board knows they've authorized me to fix it. He slid a folder across the table, thicker than Victoria's. Executive Vice President, double your salary, triple stock, a public apology. I turned the pages slowly. It was more than an offer. It was surrender. Why now? I asked, though I already knew. Because Meridian has lost 17% of its market share, he said flatly. The board is concerned. The board is terrified, I corrected. And they should be. Harmon didn't argue. You built the system we're bleeding from, he said. You can rebuild it. At Avalon, I replied. I'm not rebuilding. I'm leading. That can change, he pressed. Daniel's gone. You'll have full control. The irony was perfect. Everything I once wanted offered too late. I'll think about it. You have 24 hours, he said. We're running out of time. When he left, my phone buzzed. Victoria, how's dinner with the enemy? I stared at the message, the folder still open before me. 2 paths, 2 futures, 2 versions of myself. Driving home, the city lights blurred into questions. Vindication felt heavy. Triumph, strangely quiet. Madison was awake, curled on the couch. Mom, you're smiling, she said softly. It's been a while. Before the email, I said. She nodded. You seem stronger. She was right. I was. Not because of Avalon or Meridian, but because I had survived the execution and realized I was more than the title they took. The next morning, I called Victoria. Harmon offered me EVP, I said. Double pay, triple stock, total authority. She paused. Are you calling to quit or negotiate? Neither, I said. I'm calling to propose a merger. Laughter crackled through the line. Low, impressed. Bold, Alexandra. Meridian has structure, Avalon has momentum. Together we control the field. And who runs operations? She asked. Who do you think? I said. 3 hours later, Harmon faced us again, this time in Avalon's boardroom, this time with Victoria at my side. He looked stunned. A merger? An evolution, I replied. You get stability, we get infrastructure, everyone wins. And you? He asked pointedly. I lead combined operations, Victoria remains CEO, you transition to chairman. His eyes narrowed. This isn't what I proposed. It's what's left, Victoria said. Or explain to your board why you've lost 3 more clients. Silence, calculation, then understanding. He nodded once, and the nod of a man who knew the war was over. The story would soon make headlines. Avalon Meridian Union creates industry powerhouse. Reporters called me the architect of redemption, but I knew better. This wasn't revenge. It was rebirth. That cold email, that quiet execution, had freed me. It stripped away illusion and left truth behind. I had missed birthdays for boardrooms, traded memories for metrics, believed loyalty was currency. Now I saw it clearly. I had been selling my soul for validation that could vanish in one click. The merger sealed my name in the industry, but what mattered most wasn't the applause. It was the stillness that came after, the quiet understanding of worth detached from title. When I cleaned out my office, I thought I was losing everything. In reality, I was finally free. Free to build something aligned with my values. Free to be present in my own life again. I still lead, still create, still chase excellence, but I never miss my daughter's concerts now. I don't postpone anniversaries. I don't confuse who I am with what I do. That email didn't end my story. It started it. Sometimes rejection is the only doorway to freedom. Sometimes the fall is what teaches you to rise. Because in the end, I didn't win by going back. I won by becoming someone who no longer needed to.